Hello and welcome. Today's topic is both interesting and debatable. It all started on 4th July when CCPA, that is Central Consumer Protection Authority, which is the regulator under the Consumer Protection Act, issued guidelines to hotels and restaurants on service charge. Now, what are these guidelines? First, hotels and restaurants can't add service charge to their bills by default. That is, they cannot automatically include service charge when the bill is generated unless the customers are aware of it. Second, hotels and restaurants can't force customers to pay this service charge because it is voluntary or optional in nature and its payment is left completely to the discretion of customers. That is, if the customers are willing to pay, they can very well pay. Otherwise, the hotel or the restaurant can't force customer to pay this service charge. CCPA in its guidelines also notified consumer complaint mechanism. That is, if any restaurant or hotel is found to be violating these guidelines, then customers can register complaint with the concerned authorities. This included remedies like requesting the hotel or restaurant to remove the service charge or to register complaint by calling the helpline or by sending email or registering complaint online on the government portal. More on this and link in the description. Soon after these guidelines were out, the hotel and restaurant associations were unhappy with this for obvious reasons, and some of the associations, that is National Restaurant Association of India and the Federation of Hotel and Restaurant Association of India, that is NRAI and FHRAI, filed writ petitions with the Delhi High Court opposing these guidelines. On 18 July, the Delhi High Court passed an interim order, not final order, staying these guidelines issued by CCPA, and the matter is now due for listing on 25th November 2022. Unhappy with this interim order, the CCPA has also filed an appeal with the Delhi High Court, and this matter is going to be heard on 6th October. In this video, we are going to discuss this issue in detail. First, we will see why CCPA issued these guidelines. Then, what are the contentions of NRAI and FHRAI for opposing these guidelines? Then, we'll see the findings of Delhi High Court to pass this interim order to stay these guidelines. But before that, let's understand the background of this issue on service charge. When it comes to levy of service charge, there exist two schools of thought. One school is in favor of levy of service charge while the other is against it. First, let us understand why people are against levy of service charge. In India, there is no law on service charge. So, these hotels and restaurants don't display this service charge anywhere, and we as customers most of the time end up paying this service charge without even being aware of it. Usually when we go to a restaurant, we go with friends, family or clients. At that time, we will not be in a situation to thoroughly go through the bill. If the restaurant has included service charge in the bill, we may not even notice it most of the times. And when we are satisfied with the service of the restaurant, then we would pay tip to the serving staff. But if the restaurant has already included this service charge in the bill, then we would end up making double payment. So people who are against levy of this service charge is of the view that the CCPA guidelines have helped protect interests of consumers. Now, what are the thoughts of the other school? That is, those who favor levy of service charge. As there is no law on service charge, if the payment of this service charge is left to the discretion of customers, then most of the customers won't pay because it is not compulsory. This would lead to dissatisfaction amongst employees of the hotel or restaurant, which would encourage them to look for alternate jobs. In order to retain these employees, the owners of the hotel or restaurant would be required to increase the salary. The effect of this is, first, the restaurants or hotels can't collect service charge. Second, they are required to pay higher salary to their staff. Eventually, this would lead to the increase in the price of the food or accommodation charges, which ultimately has to be borne by customers like you and me. Also, this increase in price of the food or accommodation charges would lead to increase in tax collection because GST is levied on food and accommodation charges. And this increase in tax can only benefit the state because the tax revenue goes up. So this school of thought is of the view that the service charge has to be brought under the law to avoid all these confusions. Interestingly, there are several Supreme Court judgments in the past which have ruled in favor of levy of this service charge. The Apex Court has held in the past that this service charge is not for the food or accommodation per se, but it is for the ambience and the kind of service that is rendered when you visit hotel or restaurant. Now that we have understood the background of this issue, let's see why CCPA has issued these guidelines. Now, as stated in the guidelines issued by CCPA, these guidelines are issued to protect consumers from unfair trade practice and also to safeguard their interest. Now, why does CCPA consider levy of service charge as an unfair trade practice? In the view of CCPA, the cost of services are already included in the price of the food or accommodation because these hotels and restaurants are at liberty to set their price. So, charging anything over this price is an unfair trade practice. CCPA also referred to the earlier guidelines which was issued in 2017, and it stated that these restaurants and hotels can't force customers to pay this service charge, but these hotels and restaurants continued to collect service charge which is in the range of 5 to 10%. So in the opinion of CCPA, these guidelines would help curb unfair trade practices followed by restaurants and hotels. Now let us see what are the contentions of these associations, that is the arguments put forth by NRAI and FHRAI for opposing these guidelines. First, service charge is a kind of tip, so it is not illegal to collect this service charge as there is no such restriction in the law. This is very similar to convenience fee that we pay when we order food using food delivery apps like Swiggy, Zomato, or when we book flight tickets using Make My Trip, Yatra, and so on. Second, a larger portion of this service charge goes to the staff. If we directly tip the serving staff, then backroom staff get nothing. So including service charge in the bill would help in fair distribution of income amongst employees. Third, as there is no law restricting levy of service charge, it cannot be termed as unfair trade practice. Fourth, there exists a mutual contract between customers and the hotel or the restaurant, and if customers have consented to pay this service charge, then third party can't interfere in it. Now let us see the findings of the Delhi High Court after hearing both the parties. First, the court finds merit in this case, that is, the arguments of NRAI and FHRAI seem justified and this issue would require further evaluation. Second, the court noted similar issue even in the past which had ruled in favor of levy of service charge. First, in 1958, when a committee report recommended service charge over individual tips. Then in 1964, a notification was issued by the Wage Board constituted by the Chief Commissioner of Delhi recommending service charge and its distribution amongst the staff. Third, the decision by NCDRC, that is National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, which had held that there exists a mutual contract between restaurant and the customer and there has to be a difference in the price for the food that is being served in the restaurant and the one that is packed for takeaway. Fourth, Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Commission had held that levy of service charge is not an unfair trade practice. Considering all these points, the Delhi High Court has issued a conditional stay. That is, this interim stay order is subject to satisfaction of certain conditions. Let's see what are those. First, hotels and restaurants have to prominently display service charge either in the menu or in any other place which is visible to customers. Second, hotels and restaurants can't include service charge on takeaway orders. This matter is now due for listing on 25th November, but before that, the appeal filed by CCPA is going to be heard on 6th October. So the outcome of this issue is going to be known only after the proceedings are over and the final order is out. So until then, that is as of now, as customers, what can you do to protect your interest when it comes to paying these service charges? When you go to a restaurant, if the service charge is not mentioned in the menu or if it is not prominently displayed in the restaurant, then you don't have to pay service charge. But if it is clearly specified, then you will have to pay service charge, in which case you don't have to pay the tip. These hotels and restaurants can't include service charge on takeaway orders. For instance, let's say you go to a Pizza Hut. If you dine in, that is, if you eat the pizza at the restaurant, and if this service charge is prominently displayed, then Pizza Hut can include service charge in the bill, which usually it does, and you will have to pay service charges. In this case, you don't have to pay the tip. But if it is a takeaway order, that is, if it is a parcel, then whether or not service charge is prominently displayed, Pizza Hut cannot include service charge in their bill because it is a takeaway order. That is all I have for you today in this video. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.